Hey everyone, I'm Matt Corona.
And I'm Matthew Morris.
And welcome to the Matt and Matthew Show.
Today we're going to be talking about social media and more specifically Instagram and how we're using it for our woodworking as far as our channels on YouTube and our websites. And we also have, I think there's somebody who dropped into your shop today. Who is that, Matt? It's Dema! So, Dema, I think this is perfect because you're just really starting to get your Instagram feed going. Why don't you talk to us about, one, why you're doing it, and two, some lessons that you've learned as you've been posting.
Why I'm doing it? Well, it's a great way to share what you're doing with your, well, for me, it's for my subscribers, usually. I think the main flow of people that I get on my Instagram is mostly from my YouTube channel, I hope. Unless, well, it's kind of like a disease. YouTube people come to the Instagram and then their friends see you and then they start subscribing or following. So what I usually do is I post stuff on there just trying to show people what I'm doing that day with a project.
So why do you think Instagram is so important, or should be so important to woodworkers, be it if they're amateur or if they're professional?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it brings a lot of, so if you're just an amateur, I mean, it's pretty fun to see people's reactions and feedback. Not every picture gets a feedback, but at least you see that people liking it. The more people like it, the more I guess the more feedback you have. So, and I guess for me, the Instagram channel account actually helped with my YouTube subscribers. I probably get an average of, I don't know, 15, 20 subscribers a week just from Instagram. So
that's great. That's great. So, but now, have you learned anything? Like, have you changed the way your feed's running? Are you posting different types of pictures? You know, what personal lessons have you taken in so far?
No, I just post whatever I want. Usually I forget, and then I'm like, oh, I should probably post something on Instagram. So really, I don't really have a guide that I follow. I just do whatever I want. I'm just having fun with it.
Okay. I think that's probably a little bit different than what what you're doing and what I'm trying to do as well. So what have you been doing with yours lately, Matt?
I've been actually using it a lot more than I ever had before. So when I first got on there, just kind of sharing stuff here and there, just kind of showing some pictures and not really explaining the pictures as much. But lately it's been more of a, here's a picture of what I'm working on, then I actually go and I write a description of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. So it's kind of like it's a nice pairing from the YouTube channel, because the people that are on Instagram, they're actually watching me build this thing real time, following through with all my decisions along the way. And then that's way before I actually get the video done and post it on my YouTube channel. So the people that are on Instagram kind of get to see that all before the video comes out. So you can really follow the entire build through the entire process, just like you would if you were watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, except on YouTube, we post our stuff once a week for you and I, and then Dema's every 2 weeks. So it's nicer for people just to be able to watch while it's happening, and then when they come to the update, they can see the whole story as we're telling it verbally as well.
So we've kind of talked about more like pushing ourselves out there. What about following people? How many people do you follow, and how do you think that affects like what you're doing in the shop and how you're working?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. The nice thing about Instagram, at least for woodworkers, I'm not really exposed to other types of groups in it, but there's a nice sense of community here. So I'm probably not following as many people as you, not because I don't want to follow them, but I think my feed's gotten pretty, it just blows up because everybody I'm following is posting so much just like us. But the sense of community is great because, you know, the other day, for instance, Joseph, who we did a show with, was asking some questions and reading the responses from what people thought how he should put the brass holders into his table he's building right now, which we got a sneak peek of maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, whatever that was. Seeing that conversation and how he thought he should approach it, other people's ideas on what adhesives he should or shouldn't use, that I learned something just from that alone. So that part of it I think is really great. I'm only following about 140 people. Most of them I know, or the woodworkers I've conversed with over the, either because our show, obviously, Matt, with Joseph and some other people, I'd like to follow some more people. As I said, my feed is just so busy these days. I don't go over to the Explorer part and explore. But I do try to check out everybody who who follows me, and to see if their feed is woodworking related. Because that's one of the things I found for me, my growth really started to happen when I stopped making my feed more than just my woodworking. It was when it was stuff in my life outside of woodworking, my feed wasn't my feed, my account wasn't growing. But when I stopped doing that, that's when my account really started to grow.
Yeah, I think for me, I follow a lot more people than you do. I think I'm at around 500, and I really like it because I'm in the shop. I just want to take a break. I'll pop open Instagram and I'll see what everybody's working on. I can kind of scroll through, and it's really inspiring to be able to go through there and see what everybody's working on and what's going on with everybody. And you can get a lot of great ideas for your own projects as well, or things that people are doing. It's really nice, it's very clean and to the point, because you can really set up your feed based on who you're following, and that's going to give you exactly the kind of content you're looking for. Like, I want to see people doing woodworking, or I want to see what people are doing because they're on vacation or whatever. That's always nice too, because you can kind of see a little bit of behind the scenes of those people's lives as well.
Well, speaking about behind the scenes, I think we should get a little, I don't know what the right word is, but we should take pictures of this right now and post it while we're sitting here talking about it, right? Dema, where's your phone?
Oh, you want me to take a picture?
Well, come on, this is exactly, whenever you're in the shop doing something, you and I have talked about this a lot, Matt, right? Whenever you're in the shop doing something, you should just post what you're doing to tell the story of whatever you're doing that day. So today, okay, Dema, you got to look into the picture, right? Yeah, smile. Perfect. But so how do you think Instagram's helping you, Matt, to not just share in the community, but also, it's that big word there, monetize. Yeah, how can we as woodworkers, if it's, if you're making a mallet like Dema makes his mallets, or me building the projects and selling the projects online, you with your wood, what's your thoughts on the best way to monetize this stuff?
That's actually a really good question. Instagram I've seen it become more and more of a place where you can actually have a transaction occur, and it seems to be a lot more common too. So if you're making something, I see a lot of people, like if they're doing smaller projects, especially like the mallets that Dema makes, if he's posting a picture of the mallets, he can say in the description that he sells them, and he'll get inquiries about that right there on that page. And it's just driving business to actually sell things. So if you're a small maker and you're making something you're planning on selling, just say you're selling it in the description. Or maybe not, people might just ask anyway. And you can kind of go from there. And it's just because there's so many people out there looking at stuff. It's all just like looking. And especially with those hashtags, if you can hashtag things right, and you got people that are out there looking to buy something like that, people know they can go to Instagram and they can find the people making these things and connect with them directly, right there in public at that exact moment, and they can actually purchase that thing from them right there. So it's a really powerful tool if you're trying to sell something, which is just incredible.
Yeah, I personally, I've had an issue with how much is too much asking. Me, I like to ask, period. Right?
You're not shy.
Will you be on our show? Will you send me money? But there's this level of, I don't want to be too commercial because I want to give. A funny thing, I guess, is what we're going to try to do after this, Matt, is you and I are going to try to film a question, right, for the Gary Vee show, which is somebody that we watch, and he talks about topics like this all the time. But, how much do you give, and then when do you ask? But no, some people I think are doing a really good job of what you were talking about right now is Scott Meeks. He'll go on, post pictures of planes that he's making, so he may make 2 for customers and a third and a fourth for his site / try to sell on Instagram or other social media, and people will buy a $650, $350, whatever the price tag is on that particular plane because of its size, right from Instagram from him. And the same thing with Chris from, I think it's Chris from Sterling Toolworks. When he came out with his new stuff, he posted that stuff, his new squares and the dovetail square. He posted that right away, and people were purchasing from Instagram. Well, not from, but they were being alerted to it, and then they were able to write to him and do that.
I've bought a few things off of Instagram that people have posted, so I mean, it works. So all you have to do is say something, and if somebody doesn't want to buy it, they're not gonna. I mean, I can see what you're saying with you don't want to push too much for people, but if you're not going to, and you know you're not going to sell anything. So what I usually do is I just post a picture, and a lot of times people will ask, because I don't post a picture of just one, I'll post a whole bunch of them of all the mallets lined up. So it's kind of obvious that they're all for sale, unless I'm a mallet hoarder and you know I keep them for myself. But I mean, I try to make the pictures obvious that they are for sale. So if there's multiples, obviously they're going to be for sale. But if I'm just trying to show off one thing that I'm making, I don't normally say they're for sale. So I guess it's a mix of both.
Well, maybe a good experiment would be for you to actually say, here's the 5 mallets I just finished. One's in hickory, one's in walnut, one's in whatever the wood may be. $45 each. DM me and let me know if you're interested in and you want to grab one of these today.
That is a good idea. I might have to try that. I still have a few mallets left, so I might do that today.
Now, have you thought about doing that with your cutting boards, Matt?
Absolutely. As soon as I get them done.
There's still a pile right here.
There's still a giant stack there. But yes, that's absolutely something that I will be doing.
So I guess what's the lesson thing we're trying to help everybody out here?
It's Instagram is an extremely powerful tool, and I mean we've been really focusing on selling things, which is great. That's certainly one side of it, but the other side, which is even more, I think can be more valuable on a personal level, is just the inspiration you can get from that tool. You can really connect with what everybody's doing. There's so many things you can look at. If you're trying to get inspiration for a project, you can go through and you can look at people's furniture works. Like if someone wanted to make a bassinet, they can look for the hashtag bassinet, and it'll show you pictures of a bunch of bassinets, and you can kind of get inspirations on what design you want to go with and what people are making out there. And it's really easy to find people too, because the tools are built right in. You have that browse feature, the search feature. You can go through and you can just look at like the woodworking hashtag. Just look for woodworking. You'll find all kinds of stuff, and then you'll find people that are woodworkers, and you go to their feed, and then you get stuck in there, and you're like, oh, now I'm here looking at all this stuff. I found someone else from this feed, and it's just like endless stepping through all these things, and it's just so inspiring. And then if you actually follow people, now you got the nice feeds, so every single time you open the app, you've got all the pictures of what everybody's working on, and that is probably the most inspiring for me, because I can open that thing up in the morning, I'm like, everybody's pretty busy today. I better get out there and do something.
Great motivator, yep.
Yeah, and I think the community part, as you were talking about right now, is a really powerful thing. Not all of us have another woodworker that's down the street from us, or there's a guild that's around us. And I mean, there's some great synergy. I mean, you and I, Matt, we found each other because of Instagram. And then YouTube from there, and here we are on the other side of the camera, and we're on episode 11, I think, of the Matt and Matthew show.
Yeah, it's episode 11 now, already.
So that's been almost 5 months worth of episodes now, and we're talking constantly. So it's a great way to reach out, as you said, and find people that have like interest in you, and a nice, easy form factor, which is right on your smartphone. You can just easily peruse what other people are building. As you said, learn from other people. Now, you and I were talking about this the other day, which is how, and we kind of alluded to it earlier, but how often should you post? Is one picture a day enough? Is 12 pictures a day too many? You and I were having a conversation about this. Why don't you lead us off and tell us what your thoughts were on that?
I still don't know exactly the right amount. I think at least once a day is probably a good amount if you're actually doing something. That's kind of the problem, is you don't want to be posting something about nothing. If you're doing something that you think is relevant, that people might be interested in, then go ahead and take a picture. But for me personally, I try to not post more than once an hour. So if I'm out in the shop and I'm actually actively working on something, I'll take pictures as I go and I'll hold them and I'll release them like every hour or so, just so I don't have just this giant, it's just all me in someone's feed. Because no one wants to see that. No one wants to be like, oh, it's Matt Cremona, Matt Cremona, Matt. They want to see, there's Matt, and there's some more pictures from someone else, and there's Matt again, maybe. And so I think an hour between posts is probably the most you want to go. And even then, I only post maybe 3 to 4 in that block, and then it's like 12 hours or something between till the next post or something.
Yeah, and the great thing about the woodworking community is there are a few days that have been established by various individuals, like Hand Tool Thursday, right? So, or you can always use a greater one, which is Throwback Thursday. If you don't want to, spread out all of your hand tool pictures, you can do a Throwback Thursday to a project maybe you built 2, 3, 5 years ago, a hand tool the next week, so you got at least one day of pictures. Now you only have to do is come up with 6 others. So that means you just got to get out in the shop and do a lot of work, which is one of the things that I think we're trying to promote in the show, is get out, do the work, try to take on something a little bit more difficult than you may be comfortable with normally, and try that. That's why we're trying to get all these other people to help talk to you and us about their woodworking that we find to be inspirational. But I need to post more, because you're posting a lot more than I do. And here's a funny thing, when Matt and I first met, I had more followers than he did, and then I got sidetracked with Elizabeth's stuff here in the gardening box business. I didn't post for, what was it, like 3 weeks maybe, just a couple things here and there, and Matt just completely leapfrogged me. So how many followers are you ahead of me now?
Over 1,000, I think, right?
Yeah, like 1,200 maybe, 1,300. Yeah, and that's another thing we were talking about before, right? As the use of video. When video has maybe come back in vogue on Instagram. What do you think, Matt?
What I've really learned about it a lot more is, like, I tried out a video a long time ago. I think it was in like March or something, where I just filled up the shed with wood and I did a little video about that, and that didn't perform as well as my pictures did. But recently I did a video of this bassinet after I had it assembled for the first time and it was rocking, and all I did was have a picture of it sitting there, it's rocking on the table, and that was more had more engagement than most of my pictures normally did. So I think something like this, where like video is so much more powerful than a picture, because it's the rocking motion that you're trying to convey, and that can only be conveyed, it can only really be conveyed really easily with video. It's not, seeing a picture of it sitting there is not as exciting as seeing a video of it rocking there.
Right, so if somebody wants to post video on Instagram, what are the characteristics that they need to be thinking about?
Well, it's only 15 seconds, so you got to be able to fit whatever you're trying to do within that time.
Right, it's 15 seconds, it's 640 by 640, right, that's the screen size. So if you're shooting like us, we shoot with cameras and we're shooting in 1080, so we have to have some kind of video editor, be it, I'm using Final Cut, you're using Premiere, you can use iMovie probably. What do you use, Dema, when you're editing stuff for your YouTube channel?
I use Sony Vegas, and that was an upgrade from what I was using before, which was I think it was it was a free program on Windows, so I think it was a movie maker.
Right, so it doesn't matter what software you're using, it's the fact that you know how to use the software is the more important part, and then just being able to film and then edit your stuff down to that 15 seconds, and then put it on your phone and then post it from your phone.
All the videos that I've posted on my Instagram have been through my cell phone, so
yeah.
I cut the clips out with the phone. I don't even put it on my computer.
Sounds good. Yeah, I've done a couple of those too, but like I posted a video a couple days ago, which that was almost, well, all of it was clips from the camera I'm using right now, the 70D, and that little Replay XD POV camera when I was carving the crest rail here on the rocker chair. And then I did a quick edit, threw that up, and I think that pulled 130, 140 likes so far.
It's pretty good. That was a fun video. I like that one.
Yeah, but all action, real quick, and it was showing a technique, and just like yours, showing the rocker, something being completed, something that makes sense.
Well, I agree with what you guys are saying. I mean, I'm pretty new to Instagram. I've probably been on it for maybe 2 or 3 months tops.
Yeah, after my hounding all the time.
And yeah, it was pretty much because Matt kept telling me to get on it, and I was like, I don't want more stuff to keep track of. But I'm actually having fun with it. It's a lot better than Facebook, and I'm actually not posting on Facebook as much anymore because of Instagram. And I mean, it's a very useful tool, and for ideas like you guys already mentioned. So
Dema, you bring up a really good point. There are so many mediums. Which medium do you pick? Right? Do you post in Facebook? Do you post on Twitter? Do you post on Instagram? Do you post on YouTube? Do you tell the Lumberjocks community that you've just posted something as well? You know, I think for us, Matt, you tell me what, but I think we're thinking on the same lines here. We need to do all of them, and we need to create content that makes sense for all of them as well.
Yeah, and especially for us, because we're trying to act, well, I guess Dema kind of is. We're trying to actively create an income from this. So for the people that are trying to do that, you need to be where your audience is. And kind of the unfortunate and fortunate thing, I guess, is that our audience is everywhere. So by default, we kind of have to be everywhere, and that's kind of the direction that I try to go in with my stuff. I'm on, you know, whatever social media I can get on, and I do try to treat them all somewhat differently too. That's the other thing, because you can literally post exactly the same thing on every single thing, and then that's it. But every social media platform is slightly different, and they all can do, you know, different things, and they might not all kind of take that same thing the same way. So like, for instance, I spend a lot of my time on Instagram. That's my favorite one. I love it. And on there, you can push a little button to send that picture to Facebook and Twitter and, you know, wherever else. And sometimes I do that because it's more relevant, or it's relevant enough to push out to my Facebook page. But I don't push every single picture to my Facebook page. I push maybe one every now and then whenever it seems like something that's a little more relevant for them. Now on Facebook, you have the ability to do picture albums. So recently I did the changing table, and I posted the entire picture album of the completed project there. Instead of just a bunch of pictures of, here's one shot, here's another one, as different posts, I did a whole album there. And on Twitter, that's a little more conversational, I found. So I might just post a little like quirky thing I might have thought of, and kind of gets the conversation going. Or maybe a picture that I took just for Twitter, just so that everything's a little bit different. And that's kind of the best way that I found to at least work with it, I guess. It keeps it interesting for me too.
Dema, now you are on Etsy, right?
I am on Etsy, but I do want to say something about what Matt just said. He puts a lot more effort into his social media than I do, and I kind of puts two different views. Like I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook, and out of those four, I use Instagram the most because it just seems a lot less cluttered out of other things like commercials and ads and stuff, and it's just easier for me to interact with people on there. Unlike, for example, Reddit, when I go on there, I get confused and frustrated, so I just kind of give up. So that's just, I get more feedback on the thing I'm doing on Instagram, and that just makes me want to come back there more instead of the other platforms. Otherwise, although I do know that people go everywhere, but it gets a little bit frustrating and time consuming because Matt does this for a living. I do this for more of a hobby rather than for an income, although it's becoming to be a side income, but it hasn't become my full-time thing. Hopefully soon it will, but until then I kind of choose a platform that it's easier to maneuver around, and it doesn't take up a lot of my time to figure out how to get my content out there. So,
and that's why I wanted to ask you about, I brought up the Etsy thing, was you're on Etsy, you sell your pins, right? And and the blanks maybe? I'm not sure if you sell the blanks, but I think you sell the finished pins and you sell your mallets on Etsy. So, out of all this conversation, what are you trying to take or taking away from this that you would make or implement the changes in your social media strategies so that people like you, who maybe someone's turning some bowls, they're making cutting boards, or other small little woodworking projects, and trying to sell them up on different places such as Etsy or their competitors. From all of this, what do you think you're either doing right or that you should change to try to enhance what you're doing now?
For me, the Etsy page is kind of a weird, it's like a bastard child kind of. Although I do sell stuff on there, the traffic that comes to my Etsy page isn't necessarily from Instagram or Facebook or any other platform. It's mainly just word of mouth. So once I got that name out there, I really don't have to mention my Etsy page, and people that are looking for either a pen that I made or a blank that I made, they find me in other ways. I get a lot of emails from people that just heard, they got my contact from somebody that bought a pen or bought a blank. So recently, for the last 6 months, I actually haven't openly pushed, pens or blanks or stuff that I make, just because people that know me and that I make them, they know how to find me, and I don't know how, but they do. So I kind of haven't pushed that too much on my side. And I don't know if I would change that anytime soon, unless it's really pushing me to start making a bigger income. So when I have more time.
All right, guys. So first we started on Instagram. The conversation just got a little bit larger, but I think the larger thing is, one, if you're looking to participate in the woodworking community, you should definitely get on Instagram, and don't just like a picture or a video, comment on it too, because that gets a response, hopefully, from the other person, and they'll end up going to your feed. So you should definitely comment as well, not just hit the little like button or the heart button, and get out and participate with us and everybody else. On Instagram, it's a great way to find new friends and to learn new things as well. Dema, thank you so much for showing up today and joining us. I think that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Dema, if someone wants to buy a mallet from you, a pin, or they want to subscribe to you on YouTube or follow you on Instagram, how can they find you?
Well, if you just search for Dema's Woodshop, you're pretty much gonna find me anywhere. That name is just me. There is no other Dema's Woodshop in the world. So if you just type into Google Dema's Woodshop, you're pretty much gonna find all the social media and sales and Etsy, and everywhere I am, you'll find me there.
Yeah, and we'll have links to your stuff in the description as well.
All right, and you guys can find me as always at mmwoodstudio.com. And Matt?
You can find me and everything that I do. My website's at mattcremona.com.
So, as always, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
See ya.
Bye.